This video is going to take you through graphing rational functions. Take a look at the first page of the hard copy of the notes to look at the basics of these graphs and the transformations. We're going to get right into the example so you can see how to use that information, but you can use that first sheet as a reference for what to do with the rest of it. Transformations are going to be the following. The left and right transformation is going to happen in the denominator because technically that's where your parentheses are. Anytime you have parentheses, you always want to switch the sign. So this is going to be translate right to and translate up 3. Okay, so we have a vertical asymptote starting at 0. When we translate that to the right 2, that means your new vertical asymptote is going to go through 2 and be a dotted line. So that's the equation, x is equal to 2. And this is the vertical asymptote. Abbreviated as VA. The other one is the horizontal asymptote. I'm just going to write horizontal, we'll just assume the asymptote word is there also. That's going to come from translating up 3. So you start at 0, 0, go up 3, and put a dashed line going across at y equals 3. So your transformations will tell you where to put those asymptote lines. To get your branches, you're just going to go from starting at the center of where those lines cross. You're going to go up one into the right one, and then you're going to sketch a graph or a branch going, getting close to the asymptote lines there, and then you're going to go down one and left one from that middle point and sketch a branch on that side. Your domain, you're going to go from left to right, negative infinity to 2. Remember, domain is your x, so the x is where your break is occurring at the vertical asymptote, union 2 to infinity. And just so you can see this a little bit better, this 2 and this 2 are matching up. And then for the y equals 3, that's where the other break occurs in the range. So we're going to go from negative infinity to 3, union 3 to infinity. So the asymptote lines where they're causing the break in the graph are impacting your domain and range. We're going to do one more just like that. And then the rest of it is kind of just working backwards from a picture of a graph and then maybe finding it algebraically from an equation, that information. Pause if you need to. If you're following along, then we can move on to the next one. Okay, here we're going to translate left 1. So that means our vertical asymptote is going to be at negative 1. Notice I'm drawing that in and then identifying it right after. Put that in blue. Then we're going to translate down 2, because we have a minus 2 on the outside. That's where your horizontal asymptote line is going to go. And that will be at y equals negative 2. Again, you're going to go up one to the right one to get your branch in there from the intersection of those two lines, and down one and left one. From looking at that, or from looking at your vertical and horizontal asymptotes, that should help you with finding the domain and range. So again, domain is x, range is y. You're looking at your vertical asymptote when you're doing domain. We're going to go negative infinity to negative 1, union negative 1 to infinity. Then for your range, we're going to look at the horizontal asymptote, so we'll go negative infinity to negative 2, union negative 2 to infinity. Again, pause here if you need to, ask questions when you need to, before working on any of these types of problems. We're going to look next at the algebra that goes behind finding a vertical asymptote. For vertical asymptotes, all you're going to do is set the denominator equal to 0. So our first one's already simplified. We're going to do x plus 1 equals 0, solve for x, and that gives us our vertical asymptote. So if you're not sure about which one is which, this is something you could always do in the problems first. For our second one, we can do x minus 3 is equal to 0, add 3, we get x is 3 is our vertical asymptote. Now in our last one, we do want to just check and see if we can factor and cancel, so let's do that. On the numerator, we would do 4 and 1, positive 4 and negative 1. On the denominator, we would do 5 and 1, also positive, negative. So we do have something that cancels out, and our simplified function comes out to x plus 4 over x plus 5. So for the vertical asymptote, we only set the x plus 5 equal to 0, because it's the simplified function that you're working with. And we get a vertical asymptote of x equals negative 5. Be careful because the x minus 1 is not one of your answers, since it does cancel out. Right, and our last step here is going to be to go backwards, look at a graph, and come up with an equation for it. Alright, so on this first, we're going to identify the vertical asymptote, which I'm going to highlight in red here, and that is at x is equal to 1. We'll then highlight the horizontal asymptote, which is at y is equal to 2. When you go to put this in the equation, you're going to do f of x equals 1 over x minus 1, because you always switch the sign of that transformation, and then plus 2 here. And then again, for domain and range, we're going to use the red and the blue. We'll do negative infinity to 1, union 1 to infinity. And for range, we're going to do negative infinity to 2, union 2 to infinity. So the key is looking at your transformations. This one would have been a right 1 and an up 2, based off of the vertical and horizontal asymptote. So that should help you also with writing your equation. All right, our last problem is on the bottom of that page. This one says translated left 2 and down 7. So left 2 would be x equals negative 2. Down 7 would be y equals negative 7. Oops, I wanted to put that in green. Sorry about that. Again, to write the equation, you're going to flip this sign when you write the equation. So we're going to do f of x equals 1 over x plus 2. And notice the x equals equation is the one that goes with x in the denominator. Okay, so I got cut off because someone came in the room that I was recording. I don't know what I stopped saying. Sorry about that. It's going to be 1 over x plus 2 minus 7. Again, the 2 is coming from the vertical asymptote, and the minus 7 is coming from the horizontal asymptote. Or you can look at your two transformations. Now you should be able to finish the review packet. If you need to do any additional practice for any of this stuff, you have all the worksheets that you can also check with us when you're practicing.